And Bonds hits one high. Hits it deep. It is out of here. 7:56. Bonds stands alone.
Now Booker with Tucker on him. Throws it up for 8. Shot blocked by Antetokounmpo. What a block from Giannis.
17 seconds from Game 7 or from championship number 6. Jordan, open, Chicago with the lead.
Minute remaining. And they're putting Curry in the pick and roll, trying to get him on Ervin. Ervin and Curry, one-on-one. Ervin puts it up. It's good! Kyrie Irving from downtown!
We're sending it in, Jerome. That's for damn sure.
Yes. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Taproom Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jordan. Stacks on Stacks. Lads, joined with my man, Swerving, Ervin, Washington, staying cool out there in Los Angeles, California. I can see with the hoodie.
Well, I'm staying cool now. It was 90 degrees today.
Damn. It's still, it cooled down that much out there from 90?
Yeah, it was 90. I think Sunday or Saturday, last Sunday or Saturday, it was like 97. I think that's the hottest it's been in like a week and a half. But it was 90 today. So, good old SoCal weather. Can't complain.
Bro, 90 in Vegas is like fucking prime time, dude.
Just make sure your AC is working in your car. That's all you gotta do. That's all I'm gonna worry about.
Gotta have AC everywhere out here, bro. It's like 112 today.
Yeah, that Vegas heat is something different. I remember one time I was out there. Last time I was out there for Summer League, it was like 122. I was like, yeah, this some bullshit.
Yeah, that is some bullshit. Yep. Yeah, I mean, there is a couple days where it does get that hot, man. It is incredible, bro. But, it is what it is. My daughter had dance class today, and I swear to God, dude, her dance teacher, does not believe in air conditioning, dude. And it's disgusting, bro. I'm, sitting there, sweating profusely, just sitting there, dude. I was like, oh, my God, dude, I got to get out of here.
Hell no. I was like, hey, man, you got to turn this AC on, bro, especially when the parents to be here.
Dude, it was nasty. But anyways, I got through it. It's all good. Might have dropped a couple LBs, sitting in a sauna or something. So it's all right. How you doing, though?
I'm doing all right. I can't complain. Ready to break down some ACC football and try to understand why Max Crosby is better than both Joey and Nick Bosa.
That is I don't understand that, but we are here to break down the ACC this week. This is week 3 of our college football preview. If you're new to this, we are spending every Wednesday, we're breaking down a conference, win totals, over-unders, really digging into all the teams. The ACC is one of the bigger conferences, a lot of teams, a lot of coaching turnover in this conference as well this year. So we are going to go through it. We're going to run through a few teams, and then we're going to really spend a lot of time on some others. Because I do think that there's a few teams in here that are just going to be fucking bottom feeders like there is in every conference, you know what I mean? So let's hop right in, or before we hop right into it, I do have to mention we are being brought to you by Devour. Make sure to go to Devour.com or download the Devour app straight to your mobile device and use promo code TAPROOM for $10 off your first purchase of $25 or more. That's craft beer delivered straight to your front door. You don't even have to move. Some of the best craft breweries in America are on there as well. So definitely want to tap into that. So let's get started with the ACC. Last year we had a new ACC champion finally. That was the Pittsburgh Pirates. They obviously lose their All-American, All-ACC quarterback in Kenny Pickett, who was the first quarterback taken in the NFL draft this year. Clemson, they were really young last year on the defensive side and offensive side, really. They were really young all the way around. They're getting older. We see Mario Cristobal go to Miami, obviously. A lot of stuff happening in the ACC. So quickly before we hop into the teams, what's a couple things you're looking for in this conference this year?
Can NC State prove that they real contenders and not pretenders? Can DJ look like the quarterback he did his freshman year when everybody was talking about him being a top 5, maybe number 1 overall pick? And it's a lot of coaching turnover. So you with North Carolina, well, they didn't lose a coach. They lost. They hired a new defensive coordinator,
Yep.
and Phil Longo's still there, but they did lose some good talent, and they lost probably the best quarterback they ever had in school history. So let's see how they bounce back without having Sam Howell. So, and can Mike Norvell save his job? Because it's a lot of people speculating that he's on the hot seat this year.
Yep. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if he loses his job halfway through the year, man. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But let's hop into this first team here. So we got a couple teams that are really low on the over-under win totals in this conference. The first one is Duke. Their over-under is 3, and the under 3 is juiced. So minus 120, you're paying on the under 3. Quickly running through their schedule, Irvin, they open with Temple at home. Then they go to Northwestern. Then they get North Carolina AT&T. Then they are at Kansas. Then they have Virginia at home, at Georgia Tech. Then they have North Carolina at home. Then they're at Miami, at Boston College, Virginia Tech at home, at Pittsburgh, then Wake Forest at home. When I look at that, Temple is a team that they could definitely beat. That could be a very interesting game because this is 2 pretty bad teams, and obviously David Cutcliffe is no longer at Duke. This is Mike Elko's first year. Mike Elko's coming. He was the defensive coordinator at Texas A&M, so he should be a little bit more defensive minded. However, this is a team that's only returning 5 defensive starters, 11 total starters, and outside of their linebackers, like, they don't have a lot of depth, dude, on this defense, dude. So, I mean, this could be a very bad defense. What do you think of the Duke Blue Devils this year?
Elko is going to try to build up his system. He just got hired there. A lot of people wonder why he took this job instead of other jobs that was available. He's been successful as a defensive coordinator everywhere he's been, Notre Dame, Texas A&M. So let's give him a year or two to probably try to build something up, because whoever thought North Carolina could be a good football team. So I trust him. He's going to take him a little while. This year, if they could show any remnants of competing and not getting blown out by the upper level teams and stay within 3 to 4 touchdowns, it's a good sign, because he's starting from the bottom up, and Duke has never been known to be anything good in football. Besides when I had David Cutcliffe, he had him pretty decent, winning 8-9 games.
Yeah. No, this is a program that, if you win 7, if you go to a bowl game, you're doing pretty good, dude.
You're doing good.
You go 6 and 7. That's a successful year. Yeah, I'm not really looking for. I don't think this team wins 3 games, dude. I just they're a couple injuries away on defense, so starting guys that should be redshirting. You know,
Walk
what I mean?
Yeah. So
this isn't a good team. Quarterback play not very good. Jordan Moore is going to be their starting quarterback. He wasn't great last year, and then they lose their best running back in school history, Mateo Durant, goes to the NFL. So their biggest bright spot on offense, they lose. They don't have they lose their top, what is that? They lose their number 1 wide receiver and 2 of their top 3 receivers in production. I mean, Ervin, this is not a good team.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not. The over is 3. I think they win 2 games. I think they beat Temple, and I think they play another weak school.
That is one big pile of shit.
North Carolina AT&T might be.
Yeah, that's their 2 wins for the year.
I mean, even Northwestern isn't going to be that great of a team, but they have to go to Northwestern, so that's going to be a tough game. But I mean, they're
not beating Northwestern.
They could start 2-1. I mean, they got they go at Kansas too. I mean, that's a winnable game too.
Kansas ain't that bad though. I don't think Kansas improved enough to beat Duke.
Yeah, and Georgia Tech. They have to go to Georgia Tech. That should be a toss-up game. Georgia Tech should be a little bit better this year, though.
Yeah, I think they can be a little bit better than Duke. I think Duke might be the worst team in the conference.
Yeah, by far. No, I don't think there's a – Duke is by far the worst team in this conference, in my opinion. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
So let's talk about the next team, Georgia Tech. Over-under is 3.5. This is juice to the over, though. Over 3.5 is -125. So odds makers are basically saying that they expect Georgia Tech to be, like a 4-win team, basically. You look at their schedule, they open with Clemson. That's an L.
Loss.
Then they have Western Carolina at home. That's a win. Then they have Mississippi at home. That's a loss. Then they go to UCF. That's a loss. At Pittsburgh. That's a loss. Then they get Duke at home. They should win that game. That's going to be the toilet bowl of the conference. And then they have a bye, and then they go, then they have Virginia at home, at Florida State, at Virginia Tech. Then they get Miami at home, at North Carolina, and then at Georgia. So, I mean, the end of their schedule is pretty fucking brutal.
Yeah, I think the only second half win they might get is Duke. Everything else they losing.
Yeah, and Virginia should be better, but Virginia Tech is going to take a step back for sure. Obviously, they have a coaching change too, which we'll get to shortly. But they're definitely going to get mollywopped by Miami. North Carolina, they're going to lose to. And then at Georgia, I mean, that's going to be a fucking bloodbath, dude.
Yeah, the line for that game is probably like 40.
They play Georgia every year. It's a rivalry game.
Yeah, it's a rivalry game.
They have only 2 wins in the last 13 years against Georgia.
Hell.
Like, what kind of rivalry is that? And they're also 3-9 against the spread in those games. So not only are they losing, they're not covering. And there's a famous saying: "Good teams win, great teams cover." They're not good nor great. They're nothing. They're not good.
Sheesh.
They lose one of their best running backs, Gibbs. He transfers to Alabama.
All-American.
They do add some interesting quarterbacks though through the transfer portal. They get Akron transfer Zach Gibson, Ervin, and they also get Clemson transfer. I'm gonna butcher this fucking name, dude. Tyson Famachan.
Yeah, well, that's fine with me. I would do the same thing.
But he, he backed up DJ Ukulele last year. So I mean, they do have like some talent on the quarterback. I just don't think they have anything around them. I mean, they lose their top 3 of their top 4 receivers. They only return 8 total starters, 3 on defense, dude. So I mean, this defense is going to be fucking atrocious.
Yeah, because it was terrible last year.
I was going to say last year defensively they were 12th in the conference, dude. 12th out of 14. So I mean, they were bottom of the conference, and they only return. I mean, maybe it's a good thing they only return 3 guys.
Yeah, because they can't get no worse. But I think they added a good number of transfers too. So
they do. They did. They added Bama transfer Pierce Quick he's on the offensive line. Defensive line, they added defensive line. No, defense, all 3 starters are gone, and they're moving back to a 4-man front, so they're even changing their defense. They have all new guys, dude. I mean, this is going to be nasty.
Yeah, just do your best not to get blowed out every game.
Yeah. I think this might be an underplay, dude. I don't know why it's juiced to the over. I mean, there's definitely 3 wins on their schedule for sure. Western Carolina.
Maybe Duke.
Maybe Virginia Tech.
That's it.
Yeah, dude. That's a total underplay, dude.
Unless they up, I don't think they're upsetting Ole Miss or UCF.
No
Pitt ain't gonna be that bad.
Nah, Pitt, dude. A lot of people are predicting Pitt is gonna be good. I mean, they're returning a lot of their starters. Obviously they lost Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, they just lost their 2 best players.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough to recover from. We're gonna get to that. Just you wait, dude. All right, let's move to the next team. We're both on the under so far on Duke. We're not high on Duke or Georgia Tech, which both have low over-under totals.
Under.
Let's move to the next team here. We got the Syracuse Orange over under 5 games. The under is juiced here, -130. All these plays are. This is all from DraftKings. You can shop around. There's a lot of good value if you like some of the over-unders. But this we're going with DraftKings odds. So DraftKings has them Syracuse over under 5 wins here. Irvin, what do you think about the Syracuse Orange here?
I know they got a real good running back. That dude's a dog. Um, Dino's fighting for his job too, I think.
It's crazy because like I feel like Dino Babers he was like the hottest commodity that year when Syracuse won 10 games. Like he could have gone, he could have had his pick of a lot of programs, and he decided to stay at Syracuse and was underwhelming in 2019, underwhelming in 2020. In 2020 we tend to forget because there was a lot of COVID issues and stuff. So I don't even put a lot of weight into that, but man, dude.
Yeah, they definitely, if they don't make a bowl game, I think he's getting fired this year.
Yeah.
And the over under is 5.5 or 5.
Over under for them is 5 wins, so they have to hit that over
Yeah.
to make a bowl, because six wins is usually a bowl game. They do return, like you said, their running back Sean Tucker. He rushed for 1,496 yards last year, 12 touchdowns, 6.1 yards per carry, and they add Juwan Prince from New Mexico State. And honestly, they were a good rushing team last year because their quarterback, Garrett Schrader, can't throw the ball.
Yeah, the passing is terrible. So if they could get upgrade the quarterback in the least amount, I think they could may go bowling. But I don't know. I don't know if I see 6 wins on the schedule.
Well, I don't think they're gonna move on from Schrader. They did bring in Del Rio's kid from Florida, transferred in from Florida, and then they also brought in Michigan transfer Dan Villari, and then they have a redshirt freshman Justin Lamson. So they have a few options, but I mean, it sounds like Garrett Schrader's their guy.
Let's hope that somebody can unseat him, because I think they finished. I know it was bottom half in the conference in passing. I think it was 11th or 12th, right?
In passing last year, they were dead. I think they were dead last year. Let's see, offensive stats, 12th, 212 yards. Or no, hold on. They were 14th, dude, 141 yards a game.
Yeah, if they could up that pass, let's see if they could get the passing to about at least 250, at least the 200s. I could see them going bowling, but their schedule is kind of tough.
Well, they do bring in Robert Anae as the offensive coordinator. He comes from Virginia. He likes to throw the ball.
Yeah.
They open with Louisville.
That's a loss.
Yeah, I think Louisville is going to be more improved.
Yeah.
But the home team has won the last 5 meetings between Louisville and Syracuse, and they get Louisville at home. So could be upset. Then they go at Connecticut. They should win that game. Then they get Purdue at home. Could be.
Hopefully they could win that game. Hopefully they win that game.
Then they get Virginia at home.
That might be a loss.
That's probably a loss. And then they get Wagner.
That's a W.
Then they have a bye, and then they get NC State.
A loss.
Bro, listen to the last part of their schedule. NC State at Clemson, Notre Dame at Pitt, Florida State at Wake Forest, at Boston College.
Yeah, if they don't win those last 2 games, yeah, good luck, Dino Babers. You might be looking for employment for somewhere else. Because NC State, Clemson, Notre Dame, Pitt, they might be FSU, but those 4 games are all losses.
Yeah, and Boston College is good at home.
Yeah, so and Boston College has one of the better quarterbacks in the ACC.
In the country.
So they would have to beat Pitt, FSU, Wake, and Boston to go bowling. They might can beat FSU, Wake Forest, maybe Boston College, but yeah, I don't see them. And the over-under is 5.
Over-under is 5, and this is where I keep coming to. Their defensive line only returns 1 guy with starting experience, dude.
Yeah, they lost a lot of production on defense. I think they returning defense production is like in this low 60, something like that.
They return 8 starters, but they lose like their top 3 guys on defense, mainly on their defensive line. And Cody Roscoe last year, first team All ACC, led the team with 8.5 sacks. So I mean, that's huge. But they do return all 4 of their linebackers. And top 3 of their tacklers on defense they return, including Michael Jones, who would have gone in the NFL draft last year, but he passed up the opportunity, returned to school. And they also return all 4 of their starting defensive backfield, including third-team All-ACC sophomore Darian Chestnut, and also added All-Ivy League cornerback Isaiah Johnson from Dartmouth. So
I like they I like what they got on paper, but it's just their schedule is pretty damn tough.
Their schedule is tough. They were third in defense last year. You know, Dino Babers, he's a defensive guy, so he's always gonna have his defense
The
ready.
defense can always be good. He's got to figure out the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about because even though they bring in an A from Virginia, I just don't trust Garrett Schrader. Like, he can't throw the ball, bro.
Yeah. And Wake Forest gonna have one of the better offenses in the league, so that's not a pit. That's not a. And they're going on the road.
At Pittsburgh, that's a loss. They got to go to Clemson. That's a loss.
I got them right at 5. I don't think they go over because I don't think they beat Wake Forest or Boston College, honestly. Because Wake, well, we'll get to Wake in a minute, but I actually like Wake Forest.
Yeah, Wake Forest is they should be a good team. They return a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move to the next team. We got who we got here. We have, once again, these are all in alphabetical order, so I gotta like do the math in my head as I'm going through these. We got a lot of teams at 6.5. Who do you want to start with? Virginia Tech, Louisville, or Boston College?
I don't really like Virginia Tech going over, so
You want to go to Virginia? Yeah, I don't understand why that's at 6.5.
Yeah, I don't like that over at all. I think Virginia could probably go over 6.5, but not Virginia Tech.
Yeah, so all right, let's start with Vautech then. So Vautech, they obviously lose their head coach, which is a huge loss, a guy that's been there for forever. And they bring in a guy that's not a Virginia Tech guy, Brent Pry. He's the former defensive coordinator at Penn State. So, you know, obviously Penn State, very defensive oriented. Like that's the kind of team that you're gonna want. And I mean, that's what Virginia Tech's always been. They've always been a defensive team, whether it was under Frank Beamer or Fuentes.
Defense and special teams.
Yep. So that's gonna be huge. What do you think of this team, though? They returned 11 starters, 12th most experienced team in the conference, 4 on offense, 7 on defense. They bring in Grant Wells from Marshall. He's going to be the starter, 2-time Conference USA, All-Conference USA. And then they also bring in Jason Brown from South Carolina. So he'll be battling them in case, you know, things go awry. I do think their defense could be all right, though.
Yeah, the defense is going to be good. It's just the offense is probably going to take some time to build it back up to even be in the ladder level where they can actually go bowling because offense has been their downfall the last couple of years. And their schedule isn't like super duper tough. It's just Virginia Tech is like in rebuild mode. So that's the reason why I don't see them going over 6. I see 5 wins. I don't see 6 though.
Yeah. They lose 2 of their top 3 receivers. They do add Temple transfer Jaden Blue. They lose 3 starters on the offensive line, including third-team All-ACC right tackle Tyrell Smith. And they only have 62 starts on this line as of right now. But they did bring in one of the best offensive line coaches, Ervin and Joe Rudolph from Wisconsin. So I think that they should be well coached. And then
that was a great hire.
And then on the defensive line, they lose second-team All-ACC Jordan Williams and starting defensive end Amari Barno. But they do return 6 guys with experience, and they retain their defensive line coach, J.C. Price. So a lot of these guys are familiar with him and have a good rapport with him. And then they have 4 or 5-star recruits on their linebacker unit, and they return all of their starters, but they are moving to a 4-3 now. So their outside linebacker, Chamari Connor, who is All ACC last year, they're moving to safety this year, which could be very interesting. And they also lose their first team All ACC cornerback, Jermaine Waller, who got drafted. But the secondary should be okay because they do have a lot of talent there because there was already talent in the system. And they have a defensive coach. That's why I do think that they're going to be better than expected, but 6.5 wins is a lot. And all you need is 6 wins to go bowling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You look at their schedule, they get at Old Dominion. That's a win. Boston College at home. At home, though? They get Boston College at home?
I think they lose to Boston College. I think Boston College takes a step forward this year.
Crazy tidbit here. This is only the 3rd home opener for Virginia Tech versus a Power 5 opponent since 1998.
Damn.
Pretty impressive. Pretty crazy. Then they get Wofford. They'll probably beat West Virginia. West Virginia sucks.
Yeah, I got that as a W.
At North Carolina, that's probably an L.
L.
At Pittsburgh, That's a
Yeah.
tough back-to-back on the road right there. North Carolina and Pittsburgh. They're definitely going to drop one of those. For sure, they're dropping Pittsburgh. They could.
I think they lose both of those, honestly.
And then they get Miami at home.
L
Then they get a bye, and then they have to go at NC State.
loss.
Georgia Tech, they should beat. At
They
Duke,
should
they should
beat
beat. Liberty,
They should
they won the
should
last
win
two.
that game, but Liberty has snuck up on some Power 5 opponents, so
They have. And then they get Virginia at home. Virginia should
that's a
be,
loss.
Yeah, Virginia should be a W for them.
Nah, I think they lose to Virginia.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think they lose to Virginia.
Yeah.
I see like 5 or 6 wins here.
Yeah,
But I do think that they're going to be better than anticipated. Not necessarily as per se
as
the
far as
market.
wins, I think they'll be more competitive.
Yeah, exactly. I think their defense will be pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, let's move over to the next team here. Let's move over to Boston College. 6.5 wins, Ervin. We kind of mentioned them a little bit earlier. What you think about Boston College?
Last year they went 6-6, right?
6-6 last year. Yep.
And the over this year 6.
The over is 6.5.
I'm taking the over.
Over, huh?
I believe in the quarterback. I think the defense is going to get a lot better. That was really their only problem last year, and they lost a lot of close games last year. I think last year there was 2-4 or 2 something like that in games decided by a touchdown or less. I think it was 2-4 or
2-4. But they were also 2-4 without Jerkovich, so he has to stay healthy.
he got to stay healthy. Yeah, he's most mocks have him right now at the end of the first round, top of the second. So he's definitely a player. I like their schedule. I think they can start off 4-0. Honestly, they could beat. Only team they might lose to, because FSU is a road game. You still got to go down there and beat them. That's a hostile crowd. I don't really like trap. Well, we'll wait. Hold off on FSU, but I think they could start 4-0, 3-1. They'll lose to Louisville. They're gonna lose to Clemson. I think they pull an upset of Wake Forest at home. That's gonna be a shootout. They beat Connecticut.
They get
beat
Wake Forest at Wake Forest.
I know they that's going. They got to go on the road, so that'll be a shootout. I think they can win that. And then Connecticut, they beat Duke. They lose to NC State. They lose to Notre Dame because that's back-to-back on the road. And I think they end the year with a victory at home against Syracuse.
Yeah, I think this team is going bowling this year. I think they have an outside shot at like kind of competing for the ACC here, but a lot of it has to do with healthy. They do return their leading receivers, Zay Flowers, and 2 of their top 4 receivers from a year ago. They return their top 2 rushers, including second-team All-ACC Patrick Garwo, who had 1,045 yards, 7 TDs, 5.1 yards per carry last year. The offensive line, they do lose 4th-team All-American Alec Lidstrom, 3rd-team All-American left guard Zion Johnson, and second-team ACC right tackle Ben Petula. So, I mean, you're talking 3 very, very productive guys. That's going to be hard to replace. But Christian Mahogany is back, and he could be the best offensive lineman in the ACC this year. But they certainly lost a lot. That's going to be something that they have to kind of shore up. And, offensive line is a tough one, because, if you have a bad offensive line, it really ruins your offense, dude.
Yeah.
And then their defensive line, they lost 2 starters, but they returned 2 starters. And they get Chibuze Onwuka back, who was out last year with injury. So they should be a much better defensive line. Big concern from them is they gave up 206 yards per carry last year on the ground in ACC play, which they cannot do. They have to be better there. And they returned 3 of their top 5 tacklers in the linebacker unit, Cam Arnold, Bryce Steele, and Josh Berry. And then they lose 13 All-ACC cornerback Brandon Sebastian and 3 others in their secondary, but they do return 3 starters from last year, and they also transferred in some experience, so they do have experience in the defensive backfield. So I think their defense is going to be as good. They do have to be better, though, if they're going to win more than 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna lean under 6.5 here, just because I like 6. But I don't love the play at all. But I do think that they're going to be 6-6 again. I think that's if Jerkovich is healthy, who knows? I just think they lost a lot on that offensive line.
They did, but I think the coach could pull it together.
Better hope so. I mean, Jeff Hafley is a good coach, dude.
Mm-hmm. So
It'll be all right. Jeff Hafley's good. Someone said on the stream that one of us said Pittsburgh Pirates. I don't think either of us said Pittsburgh Pirates. I don't recall saying Pittsburgh Pirates. I don't recall hearing you say Pittsburgh Pirates.
Shout out to Pittsburgh Pirates, though. They re-signed Evgeny Malkin.
No, that's the Penguins, bro.
I mean, the Penguins, my bad.
wrong Pittsburgh team again, man. We swinging and missing out here. All right, let's move over to the next team here. So you got Boston College over. I lean the under on Boston College. Let's talk about this next team over under 6.5, and that's going to be the Florida State Seminoles, whose head coach Mike Norvell is likely playing for his job. Ervin, what do you think about the Florida State Seminoles here?
If who's his name? Blake Travis, whatever. What's his name?
Jordan Travis.
If they had any other quarterback with him, I would think they would go over and and Norvell would keep his job. I would hope one of the freshmen or somebody that they brought in could beat him out, because honestly, that's their biggest weakness on offense is the quarterback position. And if you don't have a good quarterback, you ain't going nowhere.
This is a interesting team to me because they return a lot of starters, dude. 8 on offense, 8 on defense, 16 total starters, 5th most experienced in the conference. They do lose their leading rusher, Jashawn Corbin, but they add depth with Oregon transfer Trey Benson, and they bring back Treshawn Ward, and they bring back Lawrence Toafili, which is so I think their running backs are going to be really good. Receivers were awful last year, but I think a lot of that has to do with the quarterback play.
Yeah, they got 3 transfers in for receiver.
Yeah, they get Micah Pittman, who was I think he was a 5-star recruit when he was coming out of high school, right?
Yeah, I liked him.
And Deuce Spann from Illinois, and then Winston Wright from West Virginia, who's coming off an injury, so he might not even be able to go at the beginning of the year. The O-line loses 3 guys. The only 3 guys they lose on offense are from their offensive line. But they do add transfers, Caden Lyles from Wisconsin, Dimitri Emmanuel, and Bless Harris from Lamar. So they should be a little bit more improved because they have more experience on the offensive line now. The defensive line, Irving, this is the big question mark for me because they lose ACC Defensive Player of the Year, Jermaine Johnson, and they lose Keir Thomas. But they do have a lot of highly touted recruits on this line, dude. They have a lot of 4- or 5-star recruits here. So there is a chance that they can be good. It's just there's no experience, so we don't know.
Yeah, and their defensive line coach is pretty damn good too. So I think he can mold them into a decent defensive line. Now, linebackers and secondary probably going to be a concern though.
Yep. But linebackers, they return all 3 of their linebackers, plus they add second team all AAC transfer from UCF, Tatum Bethune. And they return 3 of their 4 starting defensive backs, including first team ACC Jamie Robinson, and they add Louisville transfer Greedy Vance. And they also have Sam McCall, who's a 5-star recruit, who's coming in there. So this defense should be a lot better. And they were a good defense last year. They were one of the best defenses in the conference. They were 5th-ranked defense overall. They were really good against the run. They were one of the best defenses against the run. But once again, you lose a fucking first-round talent in Jermaine Johnson. It's going to be a lot. That's going to be hard to replace that production.
Yeah, he was a top 10. Most people had him in a top 10 talent, especially on their big boards. He didn't go top 10, but he was definitely a top 10 talent.
Yep. They're lucky because they open with Duquesne, so that's a win. Then they have LSU, and honestly, it's a winnable game. You know.
LSU isn't world beaters, so and they have questions at the quarterback spot too. So It all depends on whoever quarterback plays the best. I think that's who wins that game, honestly.
And then they get a bye, and then they go to Louisville. I think Louisville wins that game.
Yeah, because the only reason why I'll give Louisville that game because they have a good quarterback and they're at home. So, but that defense got to get. Well, let me hold off on that. But yeah,
hold off. Boston College at home, Wake Forest at home. That's their homecoming game too, by the way. Mm-hmm. Then they go to NC State. Then they are at home against Clemson. Then they have a bye, so they get to lick their wounds after Clemson beats the shit out of them. And then they have Georgia Tech. Then they're at Miami, at Syracuse, Louisiana, and then Florida.
So I think they could end the year. They over under 6, right?
6.5.
6.5.
To the over, minus 125.
I mean, they got to beat Florida. They got to beat Syracuse. They got to beat Louisiana, University of Louisiana. They definitely gonna beat Georgia Tech. So if they can win against Boston College or Wake Forest and maybe pull an upset against LSU, they can go over. But if not, I got them right at 6 wins.
Florida State has won the last 5 meetings against Boston College at home. Florida State has won 7 straight meetings against Wake Forest, but they've lost the last 2. They won 7 straight, but lost the last 2. And then they've won 4 straight against LSU, but obviously they don't play them every year. They only played them like 4 times in, what is that, since 91, 31 years. So
tough sledding. Shout out my boy Gibson.
I like them at 6 wins.
Yeah, I think I like them at 6-2.
Duquesne is for sure a win. I do think they beat Boston College at home. That's 2 wins. I think if they lose that game, I think Mike Norvell could get fired after that game.
Yeah.
And then they could beat Wake Forest. That's a toss-up. So that's like 1 for sure win so far, and then a few toss-ups. At NC State, I don't think they win that.
Yeah, they're
Clemson
not
at
winning that
home, I
game.
don't think they win that one.
Now they should have beat Clemson last year, so I'm not gonna automatically say they can't beat them this year.
They should have, but they lost by 10.
Yeah, that's true. They fell apart in that fourth quarter.
Yep. And then they get Georgia Tech at home. That's a win.
Yeah.
At Miami's an L. At Syracuse, they should win that game, but
I'll give them that W.
that could be a letdown type game. And then they have Louisiana and then Florida. So should be I see 5-6 wins here.
Yeah, that's what I see too. Unless they can pull a couple of upsets. My boy Norvell might be looking for another job because 3 years in a row. Did they go bowling that COVID year? No, huh?
No, they went 5-7 last year, 3-6 in 2020, and 6-7 in 2019.
What was 2019 record?
6-7.
Yeah, if you don't make a bowl game this year, you only get so much leeway at a school like Florida State. So I think he might be on his way out if he can't make it to a bowl game minimum.
Oh no, they did go bowling that year. They played Arizona State and lost.
Okay.
20-14.
Yeah, he can't not go bowling 3 years in a row at FSU.
Yeah, he's got to win a bowl here. All right, let's move over to this next team that's also at 6.5. That's going to be the Louisville Cardinals, Ervin. What you think about Louisville?
The only thing that's going to hold Louisville back again is they got to play better defense.
Yeah, that seems to be their Achilles heel. They do return 7 defensive players, though, so it should be a little bit better in that regard. Their defensive line returns 3 starters, including second-team All-ACC Yasir Abdullah, and they add Arizona State transfer Jermaine Loyal, who was third-team All-Pac-12 in 2020. So they do have some talent there. Linebacking, they lose 2 starters, but they get Ole Miss transfer Momo Sanogo, and FCS All-American and OVC Defensive Player of the Year Nicario Harper. So they have experience now on the defensive line, in the defensive front 7, Ervin. So they should be a little bit better there. They were bad last year, dude. They were awful last year. 6th ranked defense, but it doesn't really tell the whole story because they really couldn't stop the run.
It was terrible against run. I think they gave up almost 20 yards a game against the run, right? Something like that. Some crazy number.
Or I'm sorry, against the pass, they were terrible. They were 11th against the pass, 257 yards. Against the run, they gave up 129, but they only allowed 3.8 yards at carry, so it wasn't too bad.
Oh, so that wasn't them. I think that was another team that was terrible against the run, man.
Yeah, Boston College was awful against the run.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But they do lose 2 of their top 3 receivers, Jordan Watkins and Tyler Harrell, transferred to Alabama, but they get an All-American FCS transfer in Tyler Hudson from Central Arkansas and D. Wiggins, who transfers in from Miami. They do have a new offensive coordinator, Lane Taylor. He was Christian McCaffrey's running back coach at Stanford. This is a really good running team already, obviously, so I expect them to be even better at running. They don't really have to throw the ball per se, because they're so dynamic on the ground. Malik Cunningham is he's dynamic on the ground, dude. Not a
He just have to make teams respect his arm,
yes.
his will to pass, and they'll be a lot better.
I was about to say he has to be able to throw the ball a little bit just to kind of relax the defense, and then they can go after him. But I mean, they got some excellent production. Last year, he went out 1,000 yards on the ground, 1,174 yards on the ground, 20 touchdowns, Ervin. And then through the air, 62%, which isn't terrible. But I mean, he only threw for 2,941 yards, 9 touchdowns, 6 interceptions.
I mean, his yards per attempt wasn't that high.
Nah, and if he takes a step forward, though, this could be a very good team, dude. I like
He kind of remind me of Khalil Tate from Arizona. He's just a way better passer. He has a lot more skills when it comes to passing the ball.
Khalil Tate, the guy that everyone thought was gonna be like #1 quarterback taken in the draft.
No. A lot of people thought he was gonna win the Heisman because he went on like that crazy 5, 6, 7 game run. But yeah, he kind of reminds me of him with the legs, but his arm is way better.
Yeah, no, he should be good if he stays healthy. I think Louisville could be a dark horse team in the ACC.
Yeah, because they definitely going over 6.5 wins.
Yeah, I like them over. This is juiced to the under -125. They open at Syracuse, and they go at UCF. Then they get Florida State at home. Then they get USF. So I mean, they do have a pretty tough 4-game stretch there because they open on the road 2 games, and then they go at Boston College, at Virginia, bye. Then they get Pittsburgh at home.
That's a loss.
And Pittsburgh's off a bye too, so they're both off a bye. Then they get Wake Forest, James Madison, at Clemson, NC State, at Kentucky. Damn, this is actually a very brutal schedule, dude.
Yeah, they definitely might lose their last 3 games.
Yeah. I think they could beat Wake
they
Forest.
they could either start 3-1 or 4-0.
Yep. I mean, going to Syracuse.
They might lose that UCF game.
Yeah, UCF's good, and that they're gonna be at home.
Yeah, so I see them starting 3-1. Then they probably because they got back-to-back on the roads against BC and Virginia. They probably lose one of those. Win one, lose one. I can't put them over Pitt because Pitt got a lot coming back. And I think Keaton Slovis could be solid for them. I got them beating Wake Forest. I got them beating James Madison. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4.
This is the 3rd most experienced team, by the way, too.
5, 6, 7. I'll say if they can upset Pitt, I got them at 8 wins.
8 wins.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Let's see here. I mean, they're definitely beating James Madison. That's not even.
Yeah, but I think the only team they might beat their last 3 is Kentucky.
I mean, Kentucky's a tough team to beat too.
Yeah, I know what I'm saying. They not, and that's not a gimme either because they got to go on the road and Kentucky's coming up. I think they won 10 games last year.
Yeah, they're a good team, dude. They're a well coached team. Yeah, this is I think this is one of the tougher teams, dude, because I could see a scenario in which Louisville, is a dark horse for ACC title game. You know what I mean? But I also see a scenario where they lose fucking 8 games.
Because we could bottom out because Wake Forest is going to be a little better this year. That could easily be a loss too. So this is going to be one of those where it's going to be pretty much all good and they're going bowling, or all bad and they go 4-8.
I think this is one of the tougher over unders. I don't like this one. I'm definitely staying away, but I lean over.
Just by the slimmest margin, lean over. Don't bet either one. Well, if you're gonna bet one, bet the under, but
no, I would bet the over, but it's a slight lean, dude. Like I have them at like 6.59 wins.
But their over is 7, right?
6.5.
Oh, I thought it was 7. Well, yeah, they should be right at 6, 7 wins.
Yeah, 7. I would definitely play the under. 6.5. I'd play the over, but I would stay away from this one, to be honest. All right, let's talk about this next team. We're gonna get out of the 6.5s now. We're gonna move into the 7.5s because there's no team that has 7 here. So let's just go. Let's go North Carolina, dude. let's start North Carolina. Or actually, let's do Virginia first, then we'll go to North Carolina. So Virginia Cavaliers, Irving, over under 7.5. The under is juiced -150. So odds makers are basically telling you they like Virginia to likely go under. Probably a lot of bets coming in on the under. What do you think about Virginia here?
They're gonna have a good offense. They're returning a good amount of talent, and
they only returned 4 offensive starters this year.
But they returned the wide receiver, the quarterback, and they have some talent at some good backups at wideout.
They lose their first team all ACC tight end. They do return their top 3 wide receivers, so they should be one of the better wide receiver groups in the league.
Damn, they're replacing their whole O-line too, though, huh?
Yeah, they're losing a lot on their offensive line. They lose second team All-American,
The center,
Aluskin Aluwatami.
Yeah,
they lose both their guards, and they lose both. Dude, they're losing their entire offensive line, bro.
Yeah, this is damn. The O-line coach is pretty good though, so maybe he comes up with like a quick game, or hopefully that O-line can gel faster than what they think.
Yeah, well, this is Tony Elliott, his first year as coach. He used to be at Clemson.
He didn't look too good last year. So
didn't look too good last year. Their quarterback is Brennan Armstrong. He's a junior. He should be pretty good, but again, like Ane is a spread type coach. They lose him. They're bringing in a whole new system here. I mean, if you're a new coach though, you're gonna lean on what you. If you're a new coach though, Irv, you're gonna lean on the talent you have, and they do have a good quarterback and they do have good wide receivers, so they should be slinging that rock around.
And Elliott is going to have his footprint all over the offense because that's what he is. He's an offensive guy.
Yep.
Who did they hire for defensive coordinator?
Their defensive coordinator is John Rudzinski, who is Air Force's.
Air Force's, yeah. Ooh, that was a good hire. Damn.
That is a good hire. They don't have. They're returning 6 defensive starters last year, but again, their defense wasn't spectacular by any stretch. They were 13th in the conference last year, so maybe
with him they're definitely gonna get a little better because he's a damn good defensive coach.
They should get better.
Yeah, this schedule isn't like super duper hard. The back end gets a little hard, but the over under is 7.5.
Their over under is 7.5. Yeah, juice to the under.
So they start off with Richmond, then they play Illinois, then they play Old Dominion, then they play Syracuse, then they play Duke. They could start off 4-1, maybe 5-0, but 3 of those games are on the road, though.
Yeah, and Illinois is going to be better.
Yeah, Illinois, they might lose Illinois. I think I don't know, Syracuse should beat them at home. So let's say they start
3-2.
3-2.
Yeah, and then they get Louisville at home. That's their homecoming game.
They probably lose to Louisville. They beat Georgia Tech. They lose to Miami, lose to North Carolina, lose to Pitt.
Yep.
Coastal Carolina should be a win, and Virginia Tech should be a win.
Don't sleep on my Chanticleers, bro.
So that puts them at what? 6 wins?
Yeah, I got them at 6 wins, 5 to 6 wins.
Yeah, I might have to take the under. Losing all those starters on the offensive line is never a good sign.
No, not at all. And I feel like when you get a new head coach, especially a guy that's like been part of a championship culture and stuff, they usually like to like rebuild and get their guys. Yeah. You know what I mean? And their offense should be good, but their offensive line is not going to be good. And that is going to be an issue, especially when they play good defensive teams like Syracuse. That's why I think Syracuse might win that game.
And they lost an All-American center. That could have held a lot of stuff. Yeah, they not. Yeah, I don't see them going over.
Yep, neither do I. So we're both under 7.5 there. Let's move over to North Carolina, Irving. Their over-under is 7.5. Obviously, this is Mac Brown's 4th year back, 14th year at UNC total. He's 91-63-1 at UNC in his career. The 7.5 is juiced to the under -135. Obviously, they lose Sam Howell, who you said was their best quarterback in, you know, the
Ever
entire
probably.
program's history.
Ones.
And they're starting a redshirt freshman right now in Drake May. They also have Jacoby Criswell, but right now it's saying everywhere I see Athlon, Phil Steele online is saying Drake May is going to be the starter.
Yeah, Drake May.
They also lose their leading rusher from last year, Ty Chandler. He had 1,092 yards and 13 TDs. But they do have some top recruits here, George Pettaway and Elijah Green, but no experience, so we don't know what exactly they're going to bring. They do return their top 2 receivers, including one of the best receivers in the country in Joshua Downs.
That dude's going to be a dog. Yeah, I like him.
Yep, and they also have Antoine Green, so their receivers should be good, especially I feel like that's good for a young quarterback group because they can rely on those older receivers, right? They lose 3 starting offensive linemen, but they do add some guys in the transfer portal. Center Corey Gaynor from Miami, first team All Ivy League, Harvard transfer Spencer Rollins, so you know he's smart as fuck. And they signed one of the top offensive line recruits in Zach Rice.
Zach Rice, he's starting day one.
You think so?
Yeah, you don't recruit a guy like that and not, especially to a school like North Carolina. He's definitely either going to be the right tackle or the left tackle.
Yeah, and so they do have 104 career starts on their line entering the season. They have 6 guys with starting experience. They also have a new offensive line coach, Jack Bicknell, who has NFL experience as a coach as well. So this could be improved. While obviously they don't have Sam Howell, this could be an improved offense.
Yeah, I think the offense will be better, a little better than last year. They just got to figure out their defense, man. They got too much talent on defense to not be better on defense.
So they added a new defensive coordinator, Charlton Warren. He comes from Indiana, and then he was the defensive back coach at Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee before that. Indiana was much improved. I don't know what Mac Brown is doing, but I mean, can't get any worse, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They was pretty. I think there was more. They was better against the pass than it was against the run.
Yep. Well, they were terrible at tackling last year.
Yeah, the tackling was horrible because their penetration was pretty high. It's just they just couldn't tackle. So
yeah, they were one of the worst tackling teams. They lose 2-time All ACC defensive end Tolman Fox, but they return 2 starters, including first team All ACC Miles Murphy and 3-team All ACC defensive tackle Raymond Vashik. Plus, they add a 5-star recruit, Ervin. I know you love this guy, Travis Shaw, and Ohio State transfer Jacob Cowan. So they have talent there, dude.
Yeah.
I just don't like young guys on the defensive line or offensive line usually because I think those are 2 units that you have to be pretty well experienced, especially because you go from playing kids to like grown-ass men.
Well, it also depends on what you played against in high school too. So
yeah, but I mean, Foreman played against a lot of big guys, and look at what he did last year.
Who?
Corey Foreman.
Oh, well, he was off a whole year though. That was different.
That's true. That's a good point.
And the over is 8.
8.5 or 7.5. And they return 8 defensive starters too. They lose some production in their defensive backfield, but they do return 3 starters, including third team All ACC free safety Cameron Kelly, and they add legend Cavazos from Ohio State.
Right now, I see 7 wins.
So they'll beat Florida A&M. They'll beat Appalachian State. They'll beat the shit out of Georgia State. I think they could beat Notre Dame, dude. They get them at home too.
I don't know. A lot of people saying Notre Dame might be good this year. I don't see it, but I guess. And
they're gonna beat Virginia Tech.
Notre Dame did lose to Cincinnati last year, so it's not completely out of the realm. They lose to North Carolina.
I'll give Notre Dame that win. So right now I got them 4-1. Miami they're gonna lose. That's 4-2.
They beat Duke.
At Duke they'll win. That's 5-2. Pittsburgh
loss.
Probably a loss. That's 5-3. At Virginia they should win that one. That's 6-3.
I got them losing the
Wake Forest. That's 6-4. They should beat Georgia Tech. That's 7-4.
And
NC State. They get at home though. They get at home.
Oh no, I don't think they beat NC State though. If your boy is the real deal, I think they beat North Carolina this year.
Who, Devin Leary?
Yes, sir.
I mean, yeah, I would play the under here. I got like 7 wins and then maybe a couple toss up wins, but I don't love it.
Yeah, I'll say 7. I'm gonna go under.
I just
If they could beat Notre Dame, like you said, then they'll go over.
yeah, bro. I mean, I like try to like throw my biases out when I do this kind of shit. You know, I hate Notre Dame, bro. Like I hate
Yeah,
it.
but like I said, I think Notre Dame wins that game.
But Notre Dame losing Brian Kelly and I don't know, it's already like a tough school to recruit for. Like I thought Brian Kelly did a phenomenal job at Notre Dame, dude.
Yeah, he just couldn't do well on a national stage, and that's what everybody's gonna remember, unfortunately. But
Yep.
uh,
We'll get to Notre Dame and dude, we should have thrown them in with the ACC because they're independent, but
that's true, and they play like 6 teams in the ACC. So
yeah, we'll do them separate. We'll throw them and BYU together in a show later on down the line. What are we doing next week? Big 12?
we doing Big 12. Yes, this is Big 12.
All right. We'll throw them in with the Big 12 next week because Big 12 only has 10 teams.
Yeah, and the Big 12. Actually, I think a couple Big 12 schools played at BYU this year.
Nice, perfect. So we'll do Notre Dame, BYU next week with Big 12. All right, so we both like the under here. Let's move on to our next team. We did Virginia, North Carolina, 7.5. So we're moving on to 8.5 now. Let's start with Wake Forest.
Wake Forest.
Wake Forest, 8.5 games. This is juice to the under, -130, Irving. So odds makers.
Because they have a great offense, but their defense is not good.
Not good.
At all.
So what do you like here? What do you like on the over-under? 8.5.
8.5. Let me look at this schedule. So
VMI, that's a loss, dude.
VMI. Is this who the hell is VA?
All right, so just some information while you go through the schedule. I'll put out some information. So, head coach Dave Clawson, this is his 9th year. He's 51-48 with the program. In 2021, they were 3rd in total offense in ACC and 11th in total defense, but they were 11-3 last year. They returned 13 starters, the 7th most experienced team in ACC, 7 on offense, 6 on defense. The biggest loss they have, though, they lose Zach Tom to the NFL. He was one of their best offensive linemen, but they do return 4 or 5 starters and will have 104 career starts on their offensive line. They do return second-team All-ACC quarterback Sam Hartman. One thing I've always noticed, though, Ervin, about Dave Clawson in Wake Forest is that they always tend to start off hot and cool down at the end. Because last year, they started the season 7-0, and then they lose to North Carolina. They beat NC State, and then they lose to Clemson. I mean, they got dog walked by Clemson last year, dude.
Yeah.
And everyone thought Wake Forest was going to win that game, too. And then they beat Boston College, and then they lose to Pitt in the ACC championship. So this is a team that consistently, they lose in 2020, COVID year, they lose their last 2 games. 2019, they lose 3 of their last 4. I mean, this is a team that consistently tails off at the end.
And what's the over is 8?
8.5. 8.5. So we go VMI at Vanderbilt. That should be 2-0. Liberty.
Under.
Yeah. Liberty, Clemson. They get Clemson at home. At Florida State. Then they have Army. And remember, Army is a difficult team to prepare for because they play the option. And then they have a bye. Then they have Boston College at home. And then they listen to this finishing schedule. At Louisville, at NC State, North Carolina, Syracuse, and then at Duke. They should win that game. They've won 12 straight.
I think I'm gonna take the under.
Yeah, I like Wake Forest to take a little bit of a step back here. And I like Dave Clawson. I think he's a great head coach, dude. And I like Sam Hartman. And I love Wake Forest, the Demon Deacons. I love their colors. I love their uniforms. You know, Chris Paul went there, so I got love for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. I just don't think this defense got better at all. And they were They were one of the worst in the ACC last year.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be the only holdback for them is gonna be defense. I got them right at 8 wins.
And I feel like Irving at the same time too. Like a lot of these teams got better, and they kind of
Yeah,
stayed the same.
especially on the defensive end. This is probably the only team that had a real good offense, and the defense did not get better.
Yep, I agree. I like the under here for Wake Forest. You too?
Yeah, I'll take the under.
Under 8.5. All right, let's move on to the next team. We got another 8.5er here. The defending ACC champion, Pittsburgh. Not the Pirates, not the Penguins, the Pittsburgh Panthers.
Panthers. Shout out Aaron Donald.
Shout out to Aaron Donald. What do you think about the Pittsburgh Panthers this year, Irving?
And Larry Fitzgerald. Woo, they got some.
Larry Fitzgerald, the greatest wide receiver I've ever seen play college football. Him and Mike Williams, the two greatest wide receivers I've ever seen play college football.
I should have said right behind Mike Williams. Okay, let's look at the Pitt Panthers. Well, losing a first-round quarterback is never a good thing.
That's never a good thing, but they do bring in Keaton Slovis,
Yeah,
who has experience. My only issue with Keaton is like he's really dropped off since he had that shoulder injury. So is that shoulder healthy? Was it the system he was playing in? Yeah, like who knows what it's gonna be?
He just got to get rid of the ball and trust more than one wide receiver. He has to actually use all his weapons at his disposal. He did that at an amazing level his freshman year, his sophomore and junior year. So he wasn't that bad the COVID year, but we throw that year out because that was a regular year.
Yep.
But last year, he's like, it was Drake London or nothing. Yep. It was evident he didn't trust nobody else on that field but Drake London. So
that is one big pile of shit.
And the over for them is 9 or 8.5?
8.5. 8.5, and it is 110 both ways.
Okay, so they probably do start off. Damn, they could start off 6-0 because they start off with West Virginia. They start off with Tennessee. Western Michigan is not the Western Michigan from last year, so they should definitely win that game on the road.
Yep.
They got URI, whoever the hell that is.
Rhode Island, that's a W.
That's a W. Georgia Tech should be a win, and Virginia Tech.
Yep. And then they have a bye, and then they go at Louisville. That's going to be a tough game. Louisville also off a bye.
And I think they lose on the road to UNC. They beat Syracuse.
At Virginia.
I think I'm going to go over.
Yeah, I kind of like the over here too, dude. I see like 10 wins here. They honestly have an easy schedule, bro. They don't have to face Clemson. They don't have to face NC State. That's going to be the issue, though, is they're going to play in the ACC title game against they're going to play against Clemson, and we'll get to that in a second. And Clemson's going to dog walk them, bro.
Yeah, I might go over because Miami would be a good game. I think they might lose to Miami on the road, but they could very well easily win that game.
They can win that game.
They beaten Duke. They beaten UGA. They beaten Syracuse. So, damn, they might go 10-2.
So, this is some interesting tidbits from them.
10-2, whatever you want.
They return 15 starters, 8 on offense, 7 on defense. They lose Blitnikoff Award winner Jordan Addison to USC, obviously. They lose Kenny Pickett, but he is replaced by Keaton Slovis. So, obviously, not the same as Kenny Pickett, but I don't think it's going to be a tremendous drop-off. Yeah, they also lose their second-team All-ACC tight end, Lucas Krull, and Taylor Mack. So, 3 of their top 4 receivers are gone. So, their wide receiver core is definitely going to have to step up, dude. But they return all 5 starters on the offensive line.
That's a huge plus.
And they also return all of their defensive line but 1. But they do return their first-team All-ACC defensive lineman, Kalijah Cansey, and they have 5 guys that combined for 26 sacks last year. So this is an experienced front line on both sides, offensive line and defensive line. They lose 6 guys in their linebacker unit, but they do add Notre Dame transfer Shane Simon and Missouri State transfer Tyler Wiltz, who was 3rd-team All-American FCS last year. And they only lose 1 defensive back. So their defensive backfield is going to be very experienced. And they also have first team All ACC safety Brandon Hill back there. So I like what Pat Narduzzi is doing here at Pittsburgh. I do think that this team is good. I do think that they are going to win about 10 games. I like them over because I'll take 9 wins. You know what I mean? Like, I got them at 10 wins. So I'll definitely take the over under 8.5.
Nice.
They got an easy schedule, bro.
Yeah, their schedule lines up pretty easy for them.
They got the cakest schedule in the ACC. All right, let's move on. Got a couple teams left here. We got North Carolina State. We're heading to the big dogs now. North Carolina State. I'm gonna save the other 8.5 team for last. So we're gonna start North Carolina State. Irving, over under 8.5 wins here. This is a team that a lot of people are very high on, that they think can win, that can be the dark horse as the ACC champ here.
Yeah.
They returned 17 starters, 7 on offense, 10 on defense. What do you think about NC State here?
I like him. If DJ doesn't look like the DJ he was when he was a freshman, I got them easily going over on the over and winning the whole thing, winning the ACC.
Yeah, they may legit only lose to Clemson.
Yeah, that's it.
But if they lose to Clemson, that likely means they don't play for the ACC title.
Yeah, I mean, they would have to beat them. Unless Clemson loses a game they're not supposed to. But I definitely like the over. I got them going undefeated unless some major injuries happen.
They're not beating Clemson, dude.
I got them beating Clemson.
There's no way they beat Clemson. Zero chance they beat Clemson at home. Zero chance.
All right.
We'll talk once that game comes up. We're going to talk about that October 1st. So we'll talk about that game coming up, and me and you will make a wager on that game because I'm taking Clemson.
I'm taking NC State.
I do like NC State. They returned 17 starters. I like that. They're the number 1 most experienced team in the conference. I like experience when it comes to college football. They returned their All-ACC honorable mention quarterback, Devin Leary, who had 3,433 yards, 35 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Running back is a big question heading into the season. They converted a wide receiver. That's where they're at here. So this could get very interesting. We don't know much about their running backs, their backfield. They do lose one of their best wide receivers, Emeka Emezi, at wide receiver, but they do return Leary's favorite target, and that's Devin Carter. Their offensive line loses first-team All-American Akim Akonwu, who is a first-round draft pick, but they do return 4 starters. But that's a tough loss, Ervin.
Yeah, number 1 tackle.
Their defensive line loses third-team All-ACC Daniel Joseph, but now they move first-team ACC Durden to his natural defensive end position, and they have 5 highly touted 5 or 4-star recruits on this defensive line here. So Durden, C.J. Clark, Savion Jackson, Torrin Wright, and Josh Harris. I mean, we're talking definitely one of the best defensive lines. I think there's only one better defensive line in this conference, and that's Clemson. They do have one of the top linebacking units in the entire country, as they get 4 of their top 10 tacklers back, and they get former first-team All-ACC Peyton Wilson back from injury. And their defensive backfield returns all 4 starters, including first-team All-ACC Tanner Engel. So this is going to be a very experienced team. I do like the over here. However, I do think they are going to lose to Clemson, and that very well could cost them an ACC title trip.
Go Wolfpack. Shout out NWO for my old WCW watchers. I got them bringing it home.
No way, dude. There's no fucking way they beat Clemson, dog. You're crazy. All right, let's move to this. Second team that's over under 8.5. The Miami Hurricanes. So obviously a lot of noise around Miami this offseason. They get head coach Mario Cristobal. Used to play there, first year coaching there. In 2021, they were 5th in offense, 9th in defense. And some news came out today about Miami, actually, Irvin. I don't know if you heard this, but Mario Cristobal said that they are retiring the turnover chain because that is not Miami culture, which I think is an absolute fucking sham, dude. What the fuck, man? What the fuck is up with that? Under 8.5 is actually juiced -120, so you're paying a premium.
What's wrong with the turnover chain?
Dude, Mario don't like it, bro. Mario's old fashioned.
Yeah, he is. It's his program.
You know how Mario is. What
Man,
do
it
you,
was probably man. He was on Miami in the '80s. It was probably sniffing cocoa the sidelines. The way you calm down, Mario.
bro?
But
He's a changed man, dude. He's a man of God now, bro.
I feel you. I feel you on that one.
What do you
Honest, I like the over.
over 8.5? Really?
Yeah, I only got him losing 3 games,
Yeah, at Clemson, that's a loss. Pittsburgh at home, they probably lose.
and they probably lose to
At
Texas
Texas
A&M.
A&M, yeah,
And they could win that game because they got the quarterback. That quarterback
they do
is
have
a
Van Dyke.
dog.
Yeah, no, he balled out last year. So interesting thing, dude. He's not even a preseason All American, first, second, third, or fourth team, dude. They actually got Haney over him in the 14. But he is a projected first
Jacob
round draft
Hayner?
pick. Yeah.
No, Hayner is nice, but I don't know. Depends on. I think
Oh, we lost Ervin. All right, I'll talk about Miami here real quick until we get Ervin back. So, Miami's an interesting team. They have Tyler Van Dyke, who's one of the best quarterbacks in the country, returning. He's preseason All ACC quarterback, and they also bring back ACC, or he was an ACC Rookie of the Year. They also bring back a lot of their starters on the running game, which should be a lot better. Last year they only rushed for 3.3 yards per carry, but Mario Cristobal, absolutely, his offensive lines are always good. This offensive line does lose third-team All-ACC right tackle Jared Williams and 2 others, but they do return 3 starters, and they still have 137 career starts amongst their line. Their defensive line returns only 1 starter, and this is where things can get very interesting for them because they're bringing in a lot of transfers here. So their defensive line only returns 1 starter, but they added in the transfer portal. They added Mitchell Agude, who was second-team All Pac-12 from UCLA, Akeem Mesidor, who was third-team Big 12 from West Virginia, and Jacob Lichstein, who had 10 starts at USC, and Daryl Jackson from Maryland, and Antonio Moultrie from UAB. So they have 8 guys on their defensive line with starting experience. Within that unit, obviously, you can't play 8 defensive linemen at once. Their linebacking returns both their leading tacklers, and their defensive backfield is much more experienced. They return all 4 of their starters, including sophomores James Williams and cornerback Cameron Kitchens. Plus, they add Georgia transfer Tyreek Stevenson. So I understand the hype around Miami here. They added a lot in the transfer portal. They bring in a lot of 4 or 5-star recruits. Mario Cristobal is doing his thing. He's from Miami. This is his program, right? However, Ervin saying he had a power outage. It's all good. We're gonna carry it on. We're gonna move on. I know Ervin likes what Miami's doing. I do think that 8.5 games is kind of right where I see Miami at. They do have a lot of inexperience. I do think that they could have a couple trip ups here, which is gonna be unfortunate. You gotta remember, these are college kids at the end of the day, so there's always a little bit of letdown spots here. They have to go to Clemson, which is huge. They're gonna lose that game. At Texas A&M, that's gonna be another loss. And then I could see him dropping at Virginia Tech because that's gonna be a game where Virginia Tech is going to be fired up, especially because they're talking about they want to bring back Blacksburg. They want to bring back that home field advantage. So I could see something going on with that one. I lean the under here for Miami. I don't love it. I don't love the under, but I lean the under here. Lean the under for the Miami Hurricanes. Which brings us to one last team. So Ervin's power outage went at the right time. And this is the Clemson Tigers. So you heard me and Ervin going back and forth about Clemson, NC State before he had his power outage. I really like Clemson this year. The more I studied this conference, the more... Oh, we got that wrong. There we go. The more I studied this conference, the more I kept going back and saying, damn, Clemson may be over or undervalued here, even at 10.5 wins. And obviously you might be paying some juice on here. So over under is over 10.5 wins is plus 110, under minus 130, because going over 10.5 wins is difficult. Over 10.5 wins is saying, you're really only losing 1-2 games max, depending on how it plays out, because they have to play the ACC championship. But if you look at their schedule, they play Georgia Tech in Atlanta, then they have Furman, Louisiana Tech, at Wake Forest, NC State, at Boston College, at Florida State, Syracuse, at Notre Dame, Louisville, Miami, South Carolina. They very well may sweep the ACC. The toughest game may be at Notre Dame. And let's remember, they almost beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame when DJ Ukulele was a true freshman playing quarterback, when Trevor Lawrence was out with COVID. So this is something that he's not opposed to. If DJ Ukulele gets back to that guy that we saw his freshman year, this is absolutely a college football playoff team. This is a team that will go to the college football playoff. This defensive line, and this is where I love Clemson, is on their defensive line. They only allowed 96 rush yards per game last year, but they only have 42 sacks, which is the lowest in their last 8 years. All four starting defensive linemen returned. Xavier Thomas, Ruke Ahorohoro, Tyler Davis, Mules Murphy, and they also add one of the top-ranked defensive linemen from 2020 in Brian Brees. This is one of the deepest defensive lines in the country. This is a top 3 or 4 defensive line. They do lose 2 of their 3 linebackers, but Trenton Simpson, Jeremiah Trotter, and Barrett Carter are all top recruits that saw time last year. We're talking 4 or 5-star recruits that are now sophomores or juniors or redshirt sophomores. Secondary is going to be the biggest question mark as they lose first-team All-ACC Andrew Booth, Mario Goodrich, and Nolan Turner. So the biggest question mark is going to be defensive backfield. They only returned 6 defensive starters, but their offense is going to be much improved because last year their offense was very inexperienced. They didn't have a ton of wide receivers. Justin Ross was hurt. DJ Ukulele, he struggled, but their offensive line wasn't that good. And this year they lose 3 of their starting offensive linemen, but that may be a good thing because they have 4 or 5-star recruits that are now older, more experienced, that are coming in, that are ready to play. I like Clemson over 10 and I don't know if I love the over 10.5. If I were to play this, it would be over 10.5. But I absolutely love Clemson to win the ACC this year. I understand the love affair with NC State. That's a good program. That is a great program over there that they're building. But Clemson is still the dog here. Dabo does have to replace, obviously he loses his offensive and defensive coordinators. So he is going to have to be a little bit better there. But both guys he promoted have been within that program for a few years. So it's going to be a smooth transition. I like Clemson. I really do. Clemson is the team to beat in the ACC, in my opinion.
Let's go, y'all.
So that's the show. I'm going to give you all a best bet for tomorrow, though, before I get out of here. So our best bet for tomorrow is under 8.5 runs in the Giants and Dodgers game. Reason why I like this is because Rodon is pitching and Mitch White is pitching for the Dodgers. However, he's only going to go 3 or 4 innings, and then he's going to turn over to the bullpen. The Dodgers have the best bullpen in baseball. I absolutely expect not many runs in this game because the Dodgers and Giants tend to play very low-scoring games. So give me the under 8.5 Dodgers and Giants. I also like the under 7 in the Marlins and Rangers. John Gray versus Pablo Lopez. Pablo Lopez, one of the finest pitchers. He should have been an all-star. And the Marlins cannot fucking hit. They're coming off a series before the all-star break, 3 games against Philadelphia in which they only managed to score 1 run. They've only scored over 1 run twice in their last 5 games. Give me under 7 Marlins, Rangers, and give me under 8.5 Giants and Dodgers. We're going all unders, baby. Let's go. So with that being said, thank y'all for joining us. It sucks Ervin had a power outage. He had to dip out a little early, obviously, because he couldn't stay on. But it's okay. I held it down for the last game. Next week we'll be doing Big 12. We're also gonna throw Notre Dame and BYU in there as their independent programs. So you're definitely going to want to tune into that. That'll be Wednesday, July 27th, 9:15 p.m. We'll be going live. We'll be off for the next few days. However, Ben and I will be back on Sunday. We'll be recapping some Major League Baseball, the second half of the year getting started. For Swervin' Ervin, Washington, I'm Jordan Stacks on Stacks Lax. Make sure to go to devour.com or download the Devour app straight to your mobile device and use promo code Taproom for $10 off your first purchase of $25 or more. That's craft beer delivered straight to your front door. You don't even have to leave your couch. Have a great weekend, y'all. Let's go. Let's win this money, baby.